Hello, and welcome to Can Do Teaching. Each episode, we invite expert staff from Canterbury Elementary School in Crystal Lake, Illinois, to share tips, tricks, and a few laughs in support of all of our listeners. Together, we can do this. Welcome back to Can Do Teaching. This is Stacy Graff, the principal at Canterbury Elementary School. I have some special guests today.
Hi, this is Amy Fournier, the assistant principal at Canterbury.
Hi, I'm Julie Campos, and I'm an instructional coach here at Canterbury.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Medansky. I'm an instructional coach at Canterbury too.
Welcome, everybody. Today we are doing a very timely topic, not just in our building, but across our district and across the country. We are talking about preparing for parent-teacher conferences. We know this is a topic that can make even the most veteran teachers very nervous.
Mm-hmm.
So we just wanted to pick your brains and kind of come up with some ideas for how to support our staff as they get ready for this really rewarding and wonderful time for both the teacher, the kids, and the parents. So let's start out by talking about what teachers can do to be prepared ahead of time. So before the day of conferences, what are the types of things teachers should be doing now so that when conferences come, they're ready to go?
Yeah, one of the things that you guys can do with your students is to have a student reflection. So they can reflect about their own learning, but also they can select a goal about what are some things that they want to work on, something that is challenging, and also they can actually highlight what is something that they have gotten better at, and you can share with parents, when they walk in the door, because we always want to start with something positive.
I love that. Julie, do you have some ideas?
Yeah, so beforehand, you just want to make sure that you're really prepared with student work. So gathering actual work samples, like writing samples, maybe projects that you did in the classroom, special assignments, just to make sure it's all gathered together before parents come, so you're nice and organized.
Also, our progress reports they come up, they're live the Friday before our conferences this year. And sometimes parents don't have the opportunity to explore the progress report beforehand. And sometimes parents comb that progress report very carefully and come with a lot of questions that are focused around the progress report. So it's also very helpful to have a set of hard copies of the progress reports to be able to answer questions for parents and go through the progress reports for their students as well, and then leave the parents with that copy of the progress report to go home.
And for the dual teachers, you can also ensure that you have some writing samples in Spanish and in English, since you're reporting on skills, but parents want to see what the kids can do in both languages.
Oh, that's great.
That is good.
I also think it would be a great idea for teachers to have an idea or maybe even a printed out set of directions for how parents get into Parent View. Because with our FastBridge assessment scores being in Parent View, our progress reports being in Parent View, it would be really advantageous if a parent comes and says they haven't looked at anything yet this year. It's probably because they don't know how to get in. So here at Canterbury, if staff needs help with that, that's something that the front office can help provide or demonstrate so that you're prepared when families come on conference day. So now it's the day of the conference, and the first thing we want to really think about is how to create a welcoming environment and a welcoming first impression for those families when they come in the door. Any ideas?
So I think most of all, you want to have your room decorated with student work. So any writing samples or projects that you've been working on, have those visible and out and make it nice and bright and warm and welcoming. Maybe your conference table where everyone's meeting, you can put out a cute tablecloth or some flowers or a picture frame that kind of gives them a snapshot of your home life or your pets, family. whatever you want to display.
Mhm. I also think as a parent, I've like when my children were very young, I've walked into classrooms and had to sit on very, very small chairs, which didn't go very well. So if you, whether it's the flexible furniture we have or whether it's just the size of the children you're teaching, it might be nice to have some adult-sized chairs available so that it's comfortable for people as they sit with you. And that's something that the custodians could help you access.
In addition to that, just outside of the room, preparing your space for a comfortable place for parents to wait. And then also with waiting with a purpose too, and creating some resources for parents, resources such as instructions on how to get into Parent View, maybe some reminders like to download that D47 app so parents have that on their device and are looking at that. Free and reduced lunch forms is another great thing to have. And also, what I liked personally as a parent too is a lot of my student or my child's parent or teachers had us fill out a letter to our children, and that was always fun to sit and write that letter before you go into conferences, and then hear back from my child how excited they were to read that letter after conferences too. So that's just a nice touch for parents to do as well.
I love that. One of the things that I often think about is what parents really want out of conferences. And the reason I say that is because I was an involved parent. I already knew about the progress report. I already knew about the FastBridge scores. What I wanted to know was, is my child kind to their classmates? That was the most important thing that I wanted to know when I went into conferences. Do you have any ideas about how you can really find out what it is that parents want out of conferences?
So in the past, we had a little survey that we shared to parents in advance. So for parents to ask specific questions or to express any concerns that they wanted to address at conference, that also helped teachers to feel more prepared because everyone have different needs. So what worked maybe for me as a parent that wouldn't work for someone else. So just having a little form where you can say like, what are some questions that you have? What would you like to chat about? A little more in depth to help you prepare
ahead of time. Yes, and I agree with that. That I usually like to start a conference with a question, you know, to see if they have any questions. And in general, just ask them, how are things going? Does your child like coming to school? What do they talk about their day when they come home from school? And just kind of put the ball in their court and ask them if they have any specific questions and start the conference like that.
I love that idea because typically at conferences we start with the spiel of all the things we think we have to fit in, and then the parents, what they really want to know, it waits until the end, and then sometimes we run out of time, and what the parent really needed to know or wanted to know, they walk out not having that information. So I love the idea of both asking ahead of time or at a minimum starting the conference with those questions. Speaking of running out of time, let's talk about how to stay on schedule, because it is really difficult and leaves a bad impression on parents when they have to wait for an excessive amount of time. And then it makes it very hard to get caught up because they're like, well, I had to wait an extra 10 minutes, but now you're cutting me short. We don't want that impression for parents. So we do want to stay on time and hit those targets of 20-minute conferences. How do you do that?
So something that I suggest that has worked for me is when I'm doing a conference beforehand in a newsletter, I might send it home and say, you know, our goal during conferences is to give as big of a snapshot of how your child is doing at school. But towards the end of the conference, we have to stay on track. So in that, just be prepared that it's a tight schedule and that we'll have to end the conference on time. But if you had more that you wanted to discuss after, we can always, have a phone call or an additional meeting. But during the conference, what I've done is I've posted something on the door where a parent, the next conference coming up, would knock on the door when it's their time to kind of give us, I guess, the picture that our conference is ending and that, the next conference is ready to come in.
Thank you, Julie. I love that idea. Amy, do you have any tips or tricks for how to gracefully end a conference? We've all had those parents where that 20-minute warning or timer or parent knocking at the door happens, and they want to continue the conference and go really in depth about their child. And as the teacher, you're getting really antsy because you know that you have another parent waiting outside. What can you do there to help that parent feel heard but wrap up the conference?
Oh, yes. I think this is hard. How to be really compassionate and be an active listener, but also be really straightforward and stick to your time limit. I think you just need to be really straightforward with the parents and let them know that you're fully vested in their concerns about their child. You do want to continue the conversation. You want some time to think and process what their concerns are and more time to talk through those. So you'll have to schedule another time because right now we can't continue. We need to move on to the next parent. And just being straightforward and honest and compassionate in your response is the most important. So they know that you're equally vested in their student as they are.
Perfect. So before we sign off for today, is there any last minute advice that anyone has for our staff to help them have a really successful and joyful conference season?
Yeah, I think one of the things is that the parents have to feel like they are a partner, right? So they are part of your team. Both of you have the same goal, which is to educate their child, like academically, but also to address their social emotional needs.
Mm-hmm.
And just for them to know you're invested in this as much as they are, and that you want what's best for them. So by creating a plan with them, that they're able to support that at home as well.
Absolutely.
And I think by communicating that value of you know your child the best, so how can you help me help your child as well? We are partners here. I think conveying that message is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, again, just stress that being compassionate, a good listener, and making people feel heard because their child is their most prized possession, that they have in their life. So they want to feel like their classroom and their teacher is giving it their all to help their child grow. So I think just, again, stressing that you're part of a team, that you want the same things and that you want the best for their child, and then coming up with strategies together or a plan together to help them to grow, and then also picking a time for when you'll connect together again to discuss the same things to make sure that you're kind of staying on track with a plan.
And I have 2 tips. First of all, once your parents have signed up, make sure that if you have a family that needs translation, that you're working with other staff members to figure out how to provide that. We want to make sure parents get the information in a way that they understand and that they're comfortable with. And then I think everybody on the staff for years and years has heard me say this over and over. They're probably sick of it, but there should be no surprises. We should be communicating with our families on an ongoing basis. And at conferences, they should not be hearing something that's really shocking for the first time. This is a time for us to kind of give an overview. This is a time for us to review where we've been. But we should be communicating in an ongoing basis. So if we are not doing that, we need to make sure to start doing that. So at conferences, there are no big surprises. We don't want any shock and awe moments during conferences.
No. I think another nice touch too is after conferences, sending a thank you note. to the
Mhm.
parents that were not able to attend. And then also following up with a personal note for any parents who maybe had something scheduled and did not show, or parents who did not schedule as well.
Mhm.
Just reaching out and giving them the opportunity then to, communicate with you about their child at a different time if needed.
Absolutely. And our expectation here at Canterbury is always that we want 100% of our families here. So we spend a lot of time communicating ahead of time and trying to get them to come. But even if that means after the fact you have to do a Zoom or a Google Meet or a phone call, whatever it is, or if we have to mail a packet of papers like snail mail to their house, we can do all of those things, whatever it takes for us to keep families informed. Thank you all for your input and expertise. We're so grateful for your help, and we hope all of you will join us on our next episode of Can Do Teaching. Have a good day.